So the Diddy trial has gone through 4 weeks now, and I want to focus on the RICO charge because the testimony and evidence from last week mostly dealt with that. There's a lot of witnesses taking the stand, and some of them are talking about a lot of the same things. We had Mia, an assistant, talking about, the working conditions being terrible. We had a lady named Jane. It's a pseudonym. She's a girlfriend of Diddy's, and she was talking about the freak-offs. There was a security guard for the Intercontinental Hotel who talked about being bribed to keep that video footage that we've seen out of the public eye. So these all have to do with the RICO charge. So RICO requires 5 elements proven beyond a reasonable doubt by the evidence of the prosecution to convict. One of the elements is that there was an organization. The next one is that the defendant was a part of this organization. The third is that the organization is involved in interstate commerce. The fourth is that there are 2 predicate crimes that have been committed by the organization. And the fifth is that the defendant was a part of those crimes that the organization committed. So, for instance, bribery was one of the predicate crimes. Even though Diddy is not charged with a specific crime of bribery, it is listed as one of the predicate crimes for the RICO charge. They have to prove 2 of those. Another one is arson. So we saw that Kid Cudi's Porsche had a Molotov cocktail thrown in it. So that was evidence that arson was committed by Diddy's criminal organization. Another one is sex trafficking. Now, Diddy is charged with that specifically, but it's also part of the predicate crimes for the RICO Act. Another one is kidnapping, and another one is narcotics distribution and obstruction of justice. That could also be related to the video from the Intercontinental Hotel and the bribe and trying to stop law enforcement from receiving that. This lady, Mia, she talks about the conditions of her workplace. There was another former assistant that talked about the terrible conditions of the workplace, and that goes towards forced labor. Forced labor is another one of the predicate crimes. We have Jane, the pseudonym of Diddy's girlfriend, talking about the freak-offs more and more and the drugs, and that goes towards the narcotics distribution predicate crime listed under the RICO charge. Even though Diddy is not expressly charged with narcotics distribution, the narcotics distribution is a predicate crime listed in order to try to prove RICO. So they got to try to prove 2 of those, and we've seen evidence of the arson, we've seen evidence of the bribery, we've seen evidence of the sex trafficking, we've seen evidence of the narcotics distribution involved in the freak-offs. So that is what the federal prosecutors are trying to prove, and that is why they are having these victims take the stand and say a lot of the same things in order to just bolster that, yes, these freak-offs did occur. Yes, there were drugs involved. Yes, people who worked for Diddy worked in extreme conditions that could be considered forced labor. Now, last week with the witnesses, the defense had a lot of opportunities to make ground in attacking the credibility of the witnesses. One of the witnesses claimed to have received an injury from Diddy, but there was data from the cell phone picture of the alleged injuries that didn't match up with Diddy being present for him to have caused that injury directly. He was on tour. He was not in the same place as the witness was when these alleged injuries occurred. The defense has continued to go after Mia, Jane, these women, saying, well, why did you allow this to go on for years and years? Why do you have Instagram photos, and why did you make a scrapbook and attend a birthday party and talk about what a great individual Diddy was if you had all these problems? Of course, the witnesses being victims, they have stated that it's just a complex psychological situation when someone's going through mental abuse, which is true. But nonetheless, years and years of participation and continued interactions with Diddy is certainly a valid point for the defense to make. And it really comes down to, what do you think from your own life experience and having been in abusive relationships or any relationships? I mean, things do not go right all the time. People get into arguments, even people who, the best person you've ever gotten along with in your entire life, you're going to have some problems. So, what do you think about these types of relationships? What are the rules that you have in your own life and that you carry into your own relationships? These are what the jury is dealing with right now in deciding, well, was this, were these just wild relationships with people, the types of relationships you would expect to see from a star who has lots of money and likes to party and just everything that you're used to seeing and would expect a person who lives that lifestyle would live, and the people who want to get close to that person would want to live also. So this is what the jury has to consider with regard to some of these interactions. Although some of the evidence, aside from the evidence with the ladies, some of the evidence is pretty clear that, the bribery for the video, that's pretty clear. The arson at Kid Cudi's house, I mean, there was certainly an arson that took place. Did Diddy do it? There's certainly some strong ties to that. But this is what the prosecution is doing. They're trying to bolster their RICO case with these witnesses and prove the predicate crimes for Diddy's criminal organization that they alleged he was involved in.